Welcome to NeuroMovement Revolution with Anat Baniel, where you will discover breakthrough possibilities for your life through the brain's power to change. We're so happy that you can join us in making the impossible possible.
And now we're going to move on straight to episode 14. Title of it is The First Four Essentials: Movement with Attention, Slow, Variation, and Subtlety, Question and Answer, and we'll also include Enthusiasm, which was our last topic.
And by the way, notice that one was the slowest with questions coming in, because it's less concrete, right? It's something that we generate, enthusiasm. So,
and there are two great questions on enthusiasm, actually.
All the questions are great.
No, two. Yes, they are two new great questions.
There's no not
great question. No,
there's
absolutely
just no great answers. Answers could be not great, but not the question.
One of them is from a practitioner, and one of them is from a mother. The practitioner, Shannon. Hi, Shannon.
Oh, Shannon Kennedy.
She said, we focus during the lesson on the child, and sometimes we may miss a moment that is about how the parents and or caregivers are transforming by proxy of the child's lesson. You may have talked about this, as she says, as she hopped on late, but she also asked slightly earlier, have you ever explored helping parents feel their enthusiasm as an agent for change? And, absolutely.
Oh, a lot. Yes. It's very in the lesson, we just try. I tell sometimes parents that they're real human beings and we really care about them and love them, and in the lesson they're a prop. So there's the gravitational force, there's me, I'm a very active prop, and then they're a prop. That means it's part of the conditions we create for the child. And I situate the parents in certain ways to facilitate the lesson, sometimes close to the child, sometimes looking away from the child, so whatever is happening in the lesson. Sometimes helping with toys, sometimes reading a book, and, you name it. As far as the parents' response, very often, of course, through the parents' questions, we know where they're at and what they think. And I do so one of the chapters we refer parents to more than any other chapter to read in the book, Kids Beyond Limits, is the chapter of enthusiasm. But then, it has so much to do with self-awareness and with the parents' own fears or, concerns getting in the way. And the fears are fully justified and the concerns are fully justified. It's not like, what's wrong with you, you're concerned, but needing work. So sometimes I have this resource nearby, like 10, 15 minutes drive from our center. And that is, we refer them to Randy, a coach that knows. It's kind of like almost the one thing she works with all the parents we work with is two things. Is one, to allow themselves to observe and and take this internal delight and reassurance and hope with those small changes, because parents very often are just scared to hope because they don't want to be disappointed yet one more time. It's like re-traumatization, because the child having special needs is a trauma for the parents. And so that's one thing. And the other thing that in a funny way goes with it is that sometimes the child really is progressing and they're doing better, but the parents can't see it because they're seeing through the eyes of the trauma and the anxiety. So to move them to become current, one of the ways, and I know you, Shannon, and I know you do it 1,000%, is by taking delight and by seeing giving it importance, it's like I'm empowering the child. I trust the child. I can see the possibilities. It doesn't mean they can do it or can do it yet, or even will ever do something specific. But it's like, yes, this child can. They can learn. They can shift. They can accumulate. And when I worked with a lot of people from Chicago, I had a wonderful, actually, psychotherapist that had a child with special needs. And I used to send the parents to him, and he would work with them and give them the room to get well that way. So sometimes I'll seek other support. This is the one part in our work that I wish we had something built in more, as far as offering the services in this part when it's beyond us. But I certainly talk about it to the parents, and then parents may find, I've just thought about it last week, that maybe we can start sort of not just Facebook, but like a parent support group, and have parents talk with each other and help each other do that. But that's my answer. I hope it's helpful. Yeah.
Just carrying on with finishing off our questions on enthusiasm, a question from Jessica in England. My neurotypical child loves to show us when she masters a new skill. Today it was peeling a banana. How do we celebrate our child's progress with special needs without doing what you say not to do, to clap, cheer, highlight something he has done unwittingly for the first time?
You sit there, you act as if nothing special happened, and you just go like, yay, this is awesome. And you really train yourself to have this enormous delight. And I'll tell it very briefly. Skylar, I remember his name, wonderful little child, cerebral palsy, came to us, was he about 2 years old? And he was, quote, I put it in quotes, walking. He had those, whatever you call those things. And he would be put up on it, and then he would kind of crunch his whole upper body, and he would drag the two legs crossed, they were tight, they were spastic, together. He was terrified being upright because his back was all hunched because he didn't know how to get up or go down by himself, so he was terrified of falling. And fast forward, I got those sticks, or whatever you call this, but what do you call those?
Tripods.
Tripods, yeah. And I had the parents stop using it. It was awful. What this brain had learned, and it was really bad. And then worked. And the parents were really trained to not clap, not just sit there and enjoy it, and then just kind of like, pretend it didn't happen. Not like against it. It's just like normal. It's just okay. Because when your typical child walks, you don't go like, oh my God, you're walking. They'd think you're crazy if you did that. Anyway, so the child, then there is this lesson, and that lesson was given by my colleague Marcy. She was with me in California, so we shared the work. And the parents waited. There was a wide hallway that went out into a common area in the office building. And I'm going out to get my next client. And I see these two parents, father and mother, sitting there like frozen. And I looked at them and I said, what's up? And they go with their hand like this. They wouldn't even talk.
Wouldn't even look.
They wouldn't even look like that. So I turned and looked, and there was the boy walking. And I told them, you're doing a good job, but you can breathe. It's allowed. And that day, they stayed in a hotel. So the little boy, the parents told us the next day, in the lobby of the hotel, walked up to people and said, hi, my name is Skylar. He was by that time about 5, I think, right? So he started walking at 5. It took a while working with him. He said, my name is Skylar. And I'm walking for the first time. And he just like stunned people. But he
and then
went,
he'd walk up to the next one
person.
and do the same thing.
And the next day we had this old couple coming to find out what we do because they were so moved by this little boy coming up to them in the hotel. 2 weeks later, the mother calls me and says, Skylar is depressed and is not walking anymore. And I said to her, somebody encouraged him to walk. Somebody asked him to walk. Somebody messed with it. And he's fine, he's conscious, you know. So I said, bring him up right away. And when they were up, I said, you have to control the situation for at least 2 months. Anybody that comes in contact with him cannot ask him to walk, cannot ask him to show how he's walking to somebody else. He really has to be left alone. It took me 2 to 3 days to get this boy back to, because when he failed at it, when he was asked to do it in the intensity and the focus and the excitement and the brain regressed, he could not do it. And then the parents were very, very protective. I said, you just get protective of not letting anybody mess with it. So that's what you do.
Okay. Question from...
Let the child be the one coming to you and pointing it out, just like you're a typically developing child.
Question from Catherine Lee. Hi, Anat and Neil from Richmond, British Columbia. I'm currently teaching piano to an adult with Asperger's. She's come a long way since I first started working with her a few years ago. She's able to better connect bar to bar when playing so that the music sounds smoother. There's a delay in the transfer of instruction from the brain to the fingers. We've worked at it using variations and slow, and her playing has gotten quite a bit faster. However, when she comes back for her next lesson, her playing speed is slow again until we do a warm-up to bring up the speed. Is there anything from the essentials that I could use to help her? And also, I don't want to set a limit as to how far she could go, but how do I know whether she has already hit her limit in terms of, say, how quickly we can get the fingers to play?
First of all, we never set up a limit. I mean, if I was God, maybe I'd do it, but otherwise, we don't know. It's an open process. It's a lifelong open process. The brain can grow and create new connections and new possibilities and improvements and miracles throughout life. So we never set a limit. When I started doing the work, and I wasn't trained to work with kids, and the people would come to me and say, the doctor said they'll never do this. And my head would go, says who? It's just the doctor. What do they know? I don't know it. They don't know it. What they know is what they've already seen in the past or what they were told in medical school. And that's fine. And look at all the changes we're doing. That doesn't mean we don't have limits or limitations. We just don't know. So I don't work with that at all. I'm not worried about that. I have no interaction with this conversation. What I do is I look what the child is. If the child does better with you, goes home, comes back, regressed every time, something's happening at home. Now, maybe the child themselves is doing something.
This is an adult, by the way.
It's an adult.
An adult with Asperger's.
Okay, something is happening at home. Perhaps the adult, the person, is putting upon themselves certain demands that create regression or does it in a certain way. I would do that. I don't know what I do until I'm with a person, but what comes to mind right now is I'd say to him or her, you know, you're doing great. I wouldn't say that the brain can do fast connections. This is not accurate. It's really, really not accurate. Just drop that interpretation. Drop all interpretations and just stay with observations. By the way, for everybody, observe, don't interpret, because you don't know. We can see correlations. We can do observations. So you say, you know, first of all, don't worry about the speed. And I mean, and I'm sitting here next to a musician, amazing musician, but the thing is, you can say, do you care about how fast you play? Because you can play everything slow and then have them play slower. And then, because when you say that the passages start connecting, that's so incredible, because you're talking about musicality and that associates to emotions and feelings. And, you know, this is really great. So I would just shift the focus from speed, and then I would create a lot of variations in terms of speed elsewhere. So you get the person off the piano and say, walk slow, walk fast. Lie on the floor, roll to the right, roll to the left, do it real slow, do it faster. You know, get the whole slow and fast conversation and have them feel it and have them, that's what I would do. And then, by the way, you do that, put them by the piano, they'll play better, I promise you. But see what that person is doing with themselves at home. What are they trying to do that gets the brain off to some extent? Because I think that might create a big breakthrough in general. Hope that's helpful. Yes.
A question from Ala Smith. How do you teach slowly a skill that in general must be done fast in order to work? Like, for example, riding a bicycle or catching a ball?
Very, very good question. It's in my book, Elizabeth, she started walking, I remember, age independently. I mean, she was already able to hold to a cart and kind of use that for a while, but she never used a walker, but she used little, like a supermarket little cart or things like that. And what happened to her, she would accelerate and fall, so she has cerebellar hyperplasia, so she couldn't control it. And she had a hard time catching a ball. So I did different balls until I did, those beach balls that can move slower, and that didn't work. So you don't do a ball, you do something that moves in space slower. And what I was able to do was with a tissue to hold it and blow on it and slowly bring it to her. And the tissue is, amorphous, so you're more likely to catch it. You don't have to be precise. You go away from the thing that you trying to learn to do. If it's too fast, if you have to be fast to do it, you do something that requires the underlying skills, but you can slow it down. Now, riding a bicycle, of course, you put the extra two wheels, and then you can even hold it, and you can have the child do it, and you're there to break the full fall, but you can slow it down and give them the feeling of what they did and the fall that was about to come. You can slow it that way. Then you can put them on I don't know if you have something in a playground, something that moves, that you can walk on, like a little bridge. And then even just walking, put something off the floor, a beam or something, and have them walk slow and even do something on purpose to get off, like shift your weight enough so that you are off that thing. You find other places where that kind of sensibility is developed, and you make it safe. And once they start riding the bike and the safety, how do you call the safety?
Stabilizers.
The stabilizers are not really utilized much. You can observe there. You can take it off and you're still, anyway, I hope that helps. You don't insist of throwing the ball again and again and again because they just learned their failure. So you shift. You can take like a flag with a light plastic. You can build something like that, right? And you move it in space. And you bring it towards their face and see if they can catch it. And it can move slower. You can do, so it has a lot more space and they can be successful. Because success is the most important thing to be able to get somewhere. So we don't start where we fail. We start where we can succeed. Yeah.
Let me see. Question about orthotics. Are you completely against orthotics for children? My son is 18 months and his physical therapist has recommended ankle support to help with his hypotonia. He's progressing very well, but there is hypermobility in his joints as well. He's starting to pull up to high knees now. I know he's not walking yet.
What's the name?
Erica.
Erica, first of all, thank you for your question. It is hard for me. The answer is no. I don't object to what do you call it? What she's asking about?
Orthotics.
Orthotics. I mean, there are times where I think there can be useful. The question when it is, and in which way that it's being used, and to what extent, and so on. When we work with the children, it's a very dynamic process. We observe changes all the time, and we see in which direction it happens. And the feet collapsing inward has a lot to do with what's happening or not happening with the lower back, and it has a lot to do with the relationship between the head and the pelvis and the lower back. So we work on that because that is one of the things that can get the ankles and the feet to work more as they should. So when the child is progressing and they're not using the feet yet to stand on and so on, I don't put that on because I'm not trying to accelerate the process of them getting up to standing. Very often orthotics are used to make it so the child could stand before the brain figured out how to organize the whole body so they can stand. So it bypasses that, and then they would very likely learn to stand because the brain is brilliant and it can learn not great stuff. We learn everything. We learn our experience. All of us have things we learned that we wish we hadn't learned. You know, that's what psychotherapy is all about. That's what all the personal growth stuff is all about. A lot of it is just learn something different than what you figured out when you were 5 or 3 or 10. So, and it was good then, it was what you could do, but then there's room to change it. So I would not put it as a mechanism to accelerate the child's ability to stand up. I would work on making it so that the brain organizes the child so they can bring themselves up to standing and be better organized. Having said that, first of all, if you're doing it in PT, the physical therapists won't know to do what we do. So they can get the child to walk, which is better than not, the way they know how to do it. So I wouldn't interfere there. But if your child if the physical therapist is recommending for your child to have orthotics, I recommend that you contact Dr. Jordan. What's his first name? Paul Jordan, and he's in, you can talk.
New Jersey.
Dr.
Nuzzo.
We have delete here in the background.
Yes.
Dr. Nuzzo.
Yeah, but Dr. Nuzzo is for the surgeries.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have these two people that do both surgeries, Dr. Nuzzo and Dr. Jordan does the orthotics, and they think functionally. So, and probably Jordan will recommend some kind of orthotics, but I would go after his recommendation. And we do refer kids to him and asking him to help, but we also tell him what we're looking to have happen. So you know, we found those two people in New Jersey. Yeah. Okay, next.
Question from Sonia. She said, I'm Abby's mum that was in Vancouver, BC. Hi.
Hi, Sonia.
We took Abby's walker away since meeting with Anat and her team in Vancouver, but Abby now often asks me to help her walk. It seems like helping her is opposite of what we talked about doing, but it's hard being out camping, etc., and her feeling frustrated that she is stuck on the ground while her peers are running around. Do I just say, no, sweetie, I struggle now with feeling like I'm adding or creating a limitation?
Well, you know, if the way that you can help her is, and I don't know if we had a chance to show it to you or not, I believe Abby pulls herself up to standing. Mm-hmm. And so that's great. And have like a good pair of jeans, nothing too stretchy, or overalls, like sometimes, you know, you used to have, now don't see much of them, but not stretchy. And what you do is you put your hand in the back of the pants behind her, and you don't hold her, you don't lift her, and like then she just does something. But you slow her down and you say, okay, I'll help you. I mean, it'll be a bit of work on your back because you'll have to go down a bit, but you hold the pants and you get her to use that a little bit of help from the back, so she's not hanging off the arms, because we're not monkeys. We don't walk by hanging off trees, right? So you hold her that way, and you you go with her that way, but you tell her we'll need to do it slower, and see how well it works. And and she'll do it for a little bit, and then maybe she'll choose to go back down. What we're going to do is we're going to do it walking, being her doing it. She's doing it, you're not doing it. And the reason we wanted to take her off the walker, because she told us really not good patterns that she's developed. So when and she can do it differently, but the slowing down part has to happen. So that way you're not creating a limitation, but you're putting this demand on her because she can already do it. And she will have to feel it. She will have to notice. She'll have to notice what she's doing so she stays up. Okay? And if it doesn't work too well, I don't know, just do whatever feels the right thing to do and just get more lessons so she has more freedom to start doing it herself. Okay?
She does add, by the way, she's doing so good since Vancouver. Lots of small but positive changes.
Perfect. Good.
Question from Sarah Elizabeth. My 6-year-old has special needs. I'm wondering how to incorporate Essential 4, which is Subtlety, into our daily lives. He takes in so much information and he tends to use a lot of force in his upper body but has weak, fine motor skills.
Well, of course, because you have to reduce the force to feel things, to differentiate and get more refined. I don't know. It's sometimes, I have no ideas, but sometimes let's say you're about to give the child something and they're just like lunging, and you say, you just pull it back and say, sweetheart, just a little slower and a little gentler. And he might not know what that means, because the words mean something to you, but very often they mean nothing for the child. And if they get all upset and so on, you just move the object away or whatever it was, and you say, you're crying now. And when you calm down, we're going to get back to it. You have to be the essential. You have to reduce the intensity. You have to slow down. Sometimes you have to speed up and then slow down. But anyway, and then what you do is you show to him, get him to feel a little bit. That's hard. You move your own hand, you make more, and then you say, and that's gentle. Or on a flat surface, you go, that's hard. That's soft. That's hard. That's soft. Now, can you make it hard? You ask him to do what he's already doing. Now, can you make it harder? Remember the variations. And they say now, and he probably just want to keep going hard. You say, wait, you stop and say, a little slow. I mean, it has not ever not worked for me, or for the children. So you find, and then you say, now I'm going to give it to you, because the nervous system has to differentiate and has to learn to do inhibition, but proper kinds of refined, differentiated inhibition to get real skill. And this is the basis for all cognition, it's the basis for everything. So that's how I'd recommend. And find in playing, you say, let's do it really, really rough. And he's obviously, from what you said, I would say that his brain learned to rely on the upper body and much more. So he's doing what works. So to give him opportunities to do it really rough with the top of the body, do it really rough with the bottom of the body, as long as it's safe. Kick it hard, then touch it. Do it with the foot like this. Many opportunities, but don't overdo it. Don't make it into like you're going to fix it now and you're going to do that. You just bring it in here, bring it there. You'd be amazed how quickly children pick things up when it works for them. Okay?
I think we have to draw this episode to a close.
Okay.
But we will be back. And, I know there are some people like Lynn. We started to answer your question earlier. We will get back to these questions. We're compiling.
Which one was it? The anxiety?
In stroke, yes.
Yeah, I talked a little bit about the anxiety, and I included her in that. Yeah.
And she had some other questions too. So.
Yeah. And Lynn, and I mean, I'm saying it because it's not like I'm trying to sell my practitioners to you, but which I think is a good thing to do. But if there is a practitioner nearby, or you can travel to a practitioner that says that they are comfortable working with, stroke or with adult stroke and so on, I would just recommend it, because doing it all by yourself after such a massive, a disruption to the system is a bit hard. I mean, to get a bit more support, because you sound like you're already doing so well. Let's take that vibrant brain of yours and give it some support. You go somewhere, you get a week of lessons, 2 a day. I believe it will make a huge difference for you. And all you need to do is get on the website, anatbanielmethod.com, find a practitioner. Okay? Thank you, Neil, as always.
Thank you, Anat.
Yeah, thank you, Dalit, for being here to help us. She's in the background. One day we'll bring you to the front, because she's really a joy to look at. And
thank you all for being with us again, and for your enthusiasm and in like reaching out to us and asking questions and really participating. We really feel connected to you through these podcasts. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on NeuroMovement Revolution with Anat Baniel. You will find all of our podcasts and additional resources on our website at www.anatbanielmethod.com. You can also subscribe to this podcast for free on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and TuneIn. We look forward to seeing you online for our next NeuroMovement Revolution.